This Old House Radio Hour is supported by the Home Depot. Whether you're tackling a kitchen upgrade, organizing your garage, or building out that back deck, it's important to keep your projects on track. Fast, free delivery from the Home Depot makes it easy to keep things moving in the right direction. If you're just starting out or you're stuck in the middle, the Home Depot has same-day and next-day delivery, so you can get what you need fast. Maybe you need a tool, more materials, some extra paint and supplies, or a battery to power your way through that project. Whatever you're working on, get fast, free delivery from the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Order select in-stock items by 4 p.m., subject to availability.
You know when you walk into someone's home and there is something that makes the space feel complete? That's the power of original art. It adds depth and character to a space that prints and other decor can't. At Saatchi Art, finding affordable, handmade, one-of-a-kind art for your home is easier than you think. Visit SaatchiArt.com and get 10% off your first order of original art with code THISOLDHOUSE. That's 10% off at SaatchiArt.com. SaatChi Art.com.
Before you light that Christmas fire, make sure your chimney's ready. From LAist and APM American Public Media, it's This Old House Radio Hour. I'm Jen Largis. Find out how a quick chimney inspection can keep your family safe all winter long.
If you're burning unseasoned wood, you're going to get creosote from that. So you want to be between 15 and 20% moisture content.
Award-winning poet and host of the Slowdown, Maggie Smith, shares how her 100-year-old house became the anchor that carried her through every chapter of her life.
None of the doors or windows quite seem flush. Everything is a little off. We like to say, it has character.
Cheap Old Houses are back with another batch of dream homes you can actually afford. Find out what it'll take to turn one into a place you can live in. All of this plus we're answering your home improvement questions at 877-864-7460. Coming up next. It's This Old House Radio Hour. I'm Jen Largis. A holiday fire should feel cozy, not risky. But hidden buildup can cause smoke, chimney fires, and even structural damage. And you usually can't spot all those problems on your own, which is why a yearly inspection matters. Certified chimney sweep Jeremiah Cuck shows you what to check before you light that first fire. Okay, Jeremiah, what is the first thing you should do to check if your fireplace is safe to use this season?
Make sure that you have a professional chimney sweep inspect your fireplace to make sure that it is up to standards to be able to use. Now, there are a couple of things that a homeowner could check, making sure that their damper is open, checking up the flue, which is just above the damper, and see, are there any obstructions in the flue?
You're thinking like a bird's nest or...
Exactly. Yep. One time I opened up a damper and there was a cat there waiting for me. So she's now in our house and we named her Ember. So
oh, a fitting name.
It is. Yes. Yes. So yes, you can find surprises once in a while.
What is the actual process of cleaning a chimney?
There's two different styles of fireplaces that we run into. Zero clearance or prefab fireplaces is what we call them. And then we have our masonry fireplaces. So with the prefab fireplaces, they actually have a pipe that go up them. So we have poly brushes that we use on flexible rods that kind of back in the Mary Poppins movie, if you remember the Mary Poppins, where Bert's got the nice big brush with the bristles. That's what it looks like that we're putting up your chimney. And that applies for inserts, wood stoves, anything that has metal in it. You want to use a softer bristle brush. When we get into our masonry fireplaces, we call it a whip, but it looks like weed whacker string on the end of a drill. And then we run our rods up the masonry chimney, and that pretty much cleans the chimney out. So that's getting your ash, your creosote. Creosote is a tar-like substance that comes from the wood that you're burning. Pretty flammable in itself. So we want to make sure we try to clean that the best we can. We have deglazing brushes, we have chains, and then if we have to, we're able to use chemical treatment. So if you're burning unseasoned wood, you're going to get creosote from that. We carry moisture meters on our trucks that we give to our customers if they need one. So you want to be between 15 and 20% moisture content. But the most important thing is when you're sweeping your chimney, all that ash and debris goes onto your smoke shelf, which is right behind your damper. So it's very important that you're pulling that damper out and cleaning behind the damper on the smoke shelf.
And how do you contain the debris that's falling down as you're cleaning from the bottom?
We have a 3-stage vacuum that we use that has HEPA filters in it. It's very powerful, very minimal, if any, dust escapes from that. But let's say you're working with a bigger opening fireplace. We put a tarp over the fireplace as we clean. We found it easier just putting the vacuum hose in there. And if we have to, we'll tarp the front.
So what are some signs that homeowners can look for to sort of have a clue that things are not operating properly?
If you wad up your newspaper and you put that up your flue and you notice smoke coming back into your home, we know there's a problem. One of the things that we find is maybe the homeowner forgot to open the damper. That's a very common problem that we run into, especially with the dampers that are on a chain. Some of them operate differently. So ensuring your damper is open is the number one thing.
Do you have tips for starting a fire that burns more cleanly?
You want to avoid anything with ink. I do not like using paper. I don't like using cardboard. I just put a couple pieces of wood in there, and I have wax fire starters. And then I light the fire starter and leave my door cracked a little bit, and then my fire will get going really nicely. Try to use a fire starter if you can. It's a lot cleaner, and you're going to notice it's a lot easier to start your fire.
Are there different steps you need to take to make sure that your fireplace is ready to use, depending if you have, I know we've talked a lot about a wood burning fireplace versus electric, gas, or maybe pellet stove?
Electric, there's really not much maintenance to them. Turn them on. They might smell a little bit when you start them up for the first time, burning off the dust particles from the summer. Pellet stoves, we want to ensure that those are cleaned regularly. You're going to need to clean out your fire pot. You're going to have to clean out the inside of the fire box every day or every other day. When you come to the wood stoves, you want to make sure that your chimney is cleaned, that your pipe is all connected properly. If you have it going into the chimney, making sure that the flue tile are in good condition before you have your first fire.
Well, Jeremiah, thank you so much for joining us today. This is great information.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me, and I hope everyone stays safe and has a warm fire.
That was Jeremiah Cuck, founder and co-owner of Family Chimney Sweeps in St. Joseph, Michigan. You can follow his company online at Family Chimney Sweeps on all the socials. Right now, we're answering your home improvement and DIY questions. Call us at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, this is Ren in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Hey, Ren, what's your question today?
Hi, so I have a 1914 house. It's 2 stories. It's in the arts and crafts style, and it needs some work because it's kind of old.
As they do.
Yeah, you know. So the floors slant. It's not super drastic, but the second story slants a little bit more than the first floor. It also needs new siding, and it also needs new windows. And I'm wondering what order I should tackle these projects in, because I'm assuming they're going to affect each other.
Absolutely. We've got Zach Detmore, a general contractor for the show, here on the line to help us out. He's really good at this project planning piece, right, Zach?
Sure. Yeah. Let's not set Ren's expectations too high. I like to do the under promise, over deliver approach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. My experience with old houses is they typically sag to the middle. So when you go in the basement, you have this foundation wall. And then in the middle, typically there's a beam that often runs front to back, and it sags to the middle right? Because there's more weight in the middle and it's coming down on these columns that potentially are on poorly compacted soil and what have you. So would you feel like it's safe to say when you're like the house is sagging to the middle a bit or not really?
Yeah, it's definitely to the middle.
So that is something that you may or may not want to fix.
Okay.
It's probably sagged about as much as it's going to sag.
Okay.
And if you were to just start jacking the house up in the middle so that you solve that sag, you're going to create a lot of problems. A slow sag over 100 years is one thing, but a one day lift it back up into place is going to cause your, plaster to break and molding to break and doors to not operate that have been sanded down over the years. So most people decide to not fix that unless they're gutting their houses often, because at that point it might make sense because you're already putting new drywall and electric and everything. But at this point, if that's not the plan, fixing it just to avoid the slope is typically not worth it.
Okay.
But you can decide what your pension is for that.
We embrace the sag around.
Yeah.
We love it.
Yeah, it's character. But it always depends. Like if we're talking, if it's a bedroom, if it's a living room, typically things being out of level don't bother me as much. It's when you have kitchens and bathrooms where, you don't want your toilet crooked. Let's talk about the windows and siding. Why do you think they need to be replaced, or what is motivating you to do that?
Sure. We have some dramatic climate in Minnesota, you may have heard. And I just want better insulation so that I can keep the hot out and the cold out as necessary. And I think better siding and better windows would improve that.
It doesn't get very cold in Minnesota, though, does it?
No, never.
You don't have to give me a specific number, but is your energy bill concerning you more, or is your comfort in the house concerning you more?
Well, it's a combination of both. I have a boiler and radiators, so I stay fairly warm, but there's a dramatic difference between upstairs and downstairs.
Got it. So the fact that you go upstairs and you're changing clothes because it's a completely different climate up there.
Yes.
And does this house have an attic?
Yes.
And is the attic finished or is it open?
No, there's brand new insulation up there.
And you put that in, or that was there?
It was put in by the seller. I bought the house in December of last year.
Okay. And what does it look like?
It's like 2 feet of, is it fiberglass? Blown in insulation.
It's great that you have that, right? But what we want is a hat on your house, right? That's keeping that energy in. But it doesn't, if you have sort of open insulation that air can just move through, you could have 2 feet of insulation, 3 feet of insulation, 7 feet of insulation. If the air's just going through, it's not really helping you keep that energy in. So the first thing I would try and assess is, how do we trap that air? And the easiest way to do that would be in the winter, take a thermal imaging camera up to the attic and sort of see if hot air is poking and coming through that insulation. And if so, where, then just sort of sealing that with maybe a can of spray foam or weather stripping or sealing around light fixtures and penetrations. That detailing is where I would start before considering siding and before considering windows, because those other things are not losing as much energy as your sort of roof assembly is right now. The fact that it's cold on the second floor, it should be hotter on the second floor, really, right? Because the heat is rising and it should be getting trapped there. If it's colder, it's just flying up through the attic system because the house is so drafty. So really what you want to do is go around the house, find drafts on a really cold day and seal them up. And then once you feel like you've sealed as much as you can possibly seal, then consider windows and then consider ripping the siding off and insulating from the outside. I think in general, there's too many people replacing windows because the windows aren't as big an offender as you think. And I'm walking the talk. I'm in the house right now with 100-year-old windows, and I'm a building science nerd, and I'm not replacing them because there's other things I can do that will be a better return for my money and comfort.
Thanks, guys, for your help. I really appreciate it.
Take care.
Thanks, y'all.
Coming up, we answer more of your home improvement and DIY questions. Call us at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. It's This Old House Radio Hour. This Old House Radio Hour is supported by the Home Depot. Whether you're tackling a kitchen upgrade, organizing your garage, or building out that back deck, it's important to keep your projects on track. Fast, free delivery from the Home Depot makes it easy to keep things moving in the right direction. If you're just starting out or you're stuck in the middle, the Home Depot has same-day and next-day delivery, so you can get what you need fast. Maybe you need a tool, more materials, some extra paint and supplies, or a battery to power your way through that project. Whatever you're working on, get fast, free delivery from the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Order select in-stock items by 4 p.m., subject to availability.
You know when you walk into someone's home and there's something that makes the space feel complete? That's the power of original art. It adds depth and character to a space that prints and other decor can't. At Saatchi Art, finding affordable, handmade, one-of-a-kind art for your home is easier than you think. Visit SaatchiArt.com and get 10% off your first order of original art with code THISOLDHOUSE. That's 10% off at SaatchiArt.com. SaatchiArt.com.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
It's This Old House Radio Hour. I'm Jen Largis. Right now, we're answering your home improvement and DIY questions. Call us at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hello, my name is Dean Ricciardi, and I live in Reading, Massachusetts.
Dean, what's your question today?
Okay, so we live in this 100-year-old house. It's a single story, and it has an addition on the back that is our living room. But it was built, like the rest of the house has a hip roof, but the addition was built with just a sloping roof, and it has no crawl space or anything like that above it. And I would love to have a ceiling fan in that room, but I don't really know if it's possible.
Good question. Well, we've got Heath Eastman, an electrician for the show, and Zach Detmore, general contractor for the show, here to help. Zach, have you experienced this before?
Sure. So is Dean, your concern getting the electricity and the infrastructure in place, or is your concern that the ceiling's so low you'll hit your head on it?
It's some of each. The ceiling is 8 feet at the point where it meets the house, and it slopes down to about 6 feet 8 inches at the outer wall. We have another fan that was installed last year in another room, and the instructions for that have like a minimum height of 7 feet and a minimum distance from the wall of 30 inches. And I'm just not quite sure if there's enough space underneath when all is said and done.
Well, how tall are you? Are you like Bilbo Baggins in the Shire?
He doesn't want a free haircut.
I am just under 6 feet.
Oh, man, you're not going to like my answer. I would say you want at least 7.5 feet for most ceiling fans, because that should give you, put your arms in the air for a nice big yawn and you don't get whacked type of clearance at your height.
Lose your knuckles.
My assumption is if you want this thing centered in the room, you're probably just under 7.5 feet. But what do you think, Heath? Have you ever seen those, like, it's a wall mounted fan? It's a fan.
I have. We've done them.
Done them? What do you think of those?
Those aren't bad. They actually throw a good amount of air, but it does on a bracket that sticks out a good amount. And you want to make sure you have a really, really solid mounting surface because they're fairly heavy and they oscillate a lot of times. So you want to have something to mount to. Zach's absolutely right. If you're talking about 8 feet, maybe to the highest point, and then coming down to 6'8", if you try to put a ceiling fan in the middle of that, it's going to be too low. The manufacturer guidelines are 7 foot to the bottom of the blades as a minimum.
What about the ones that are kind of encased? Like, I know those aren't as maybe nice looking, but
You can, but we're still going to have a height issue. So the other thing you want to consider is you don't want it super tight to the ceiling. You want to have a little room because it wants to pull air up and around the ceiling and be able to push it back down. So you have it too tight, it's not going to be able to do that.
Well,
what you need is a skylight.
I don't know. We already have water issues.
Oh, then no skylight. No more holes in the roof.
Redone.
The perfect time to add a skylight when you're done roofing.
What about those light socket fans? Does that get you a little air movement, but maybe don't need as much clearance?
I've never really seen those. Which one of the light sockets?
Well, you're an electrician. These aren't for electricians. These are for people who don't want to call their electrician.
Yeah.
Then I don't want to talk about those, Jen.
I was going to say.
Question.
Moving on.
I mean, we use box fans, you know.
Yeah. I mean, the wall mount one's a great idea. We've done a few of those that oscillate like that, and they do a great job, but it just takes up a little more space in the room.
Well, that's something to potentially look into.
Yeah, I think you gotta have the right aesthetic, I would say, because if you can sort of find the right fan that feels like maybe it's antique, I don't know what your interior design taste is, but if you can get it to fit in, I think it can could add a little bit of charm and a little bit of a conversation piece, and it's you can point it sort of where you're sitting, which is nice. You have where a ceiling fan, you kind of need to be. I prefer them in bedrooms or really high rooms because you really only benefit if you're directly under them. But, this wall-mounted one can give you a little bit more oomph.
Well, I didn't know about this at all, so.
Yep, I would say that the takeaway is you could do it. There's always a way to do it. Whether you certainly don't want to open walls up if you don't have to, but you can always run some kind of surface conduit to get power there. But it sounds like you just really don't have the clearance here, no matter what.
Yeah. So looks like you're doing that skylight.
Holes in roofs.
Well, all right. Thanks for taking the call.
Our pleasure. Anytime.
Good to talk to you.
We love delivering bad news.
Yeah, we love giving bad news to people. We didn't talk about taking the floor out. Oh, well, that'll be the next call.
Just lower the floor.
Yeah, lower the floor.
All right, Dean, thanks for the call.
Thank you. Bye.
Call us now at 877-864-7460. 877-864-7460. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, this is Samantha Santee from Virginia.
Hey, Samantha, what's your question today?
So a few years ago, we had some tile flooring replaced, and it's the large faux wood plank style, so it's wider it's a lot longer than it is wide. And now we're starting to notice that a few of these boards or tiles are starting to seem loose. And I'm trying to figure out the best way to see if we can pop up the tiles to repair them, and if there's any chance of salvaging the tiles, because I'm not sure if I can buy more.
That's a good question. So to help answer it, we have Zach Detmore, a general contractor for the show, here on the line.
Wow, wow. All right. No, sorry.
Don't bring that energy to this.
All right. So are the tiles moving a lot? Like, is it just one or two in the whole floor, or is it a bunch of them?
It's only about one or two, especially near a doorway. I can notice if I push, I physically can push the tile down and it'll wobble back and forth. I mean, it's very minuscule, and it's only a couple of them. I'm assuming at some point they're going to crack, so I'd like to get them repaired. And I'm noticing some cracked grout lines around the individual tiles. Some other areas have the cracked grout, but those tiles don't particularly seem to be loose.
Got it. Are you standing on the tiles right this moment?
I can.
You can?
Yes.
Okay, great. And do you have something like a marble? What, you know what I'm talking about, Jen, where you tap the tiles? What would she have right there that she could tap the tiles with to give us some data?
I have a marble right here, thanks to my children.
Wonderful.
What are the odds?
So what I want you to do, and we'll follow you along on this mission, is find a tile that feels really solid to you and tap it, and then find one that feels loose to you and tap it, and see if they sound completely different.
They sound a little bit more hollow under the loose one.
Right. Okay. So Now pick a random part of the floor and check sort of 3 or 4 together in different places. It should all sound the same if it was installed correctly.
Yes, the other places do sound pretty consistent.
Wonderful. That is great news for you. So these tiles require an incredibly flat floor, and maybe in the areas where you're transitioning between doorways, the subfloor might be moving in ways that were slightly outside the control of the installer. So I would say step 1 would be to try and remove that tile. And when you get it up, look at the bottom of the tile and see if there are coverage issues. The tile should be roughly 85% covered with mortar, and the floor should be 85% covered with mortar. If that's not the case, if you see sort of pockets of air, then you can probably just remove that mortar and put it down properly, and your problem solved. And if it looks like it was completely covered properly, which I don't think is the case, then maybe you have to look into the subfloor and see if there's some sort of squeaks or movements that you want to fix before putting it back again. But it sounds to me like if the whole floor sounds like it was embedded properly and it's not moving a lot, you can do these spot repairs as long as you can remove the tile in one piece.
Okay, I'll give it a try. Any tips for trying to get the tile out in one piece?
Unfortunately, without seeing it, it's hard, but I'll give you this piece of advice. If you snap the tile, you can actually cut it. Hopefully it snaps in a way that's as beautiful as possible, right? But if you can't get it out, you could potentially score or cut the tile to create like a faux grout joint. So you'll actually add a grout joint and remove it in 2 pieces. And once the floor is all grouted, you won't really notice that particular tile isn't as long as the rest. It's 2 short pieces because it'll be a detail that probably only you will see. But if you feel like there's no possible way for me to remove this as one, then you can cut it in place. Hopefully it'll break across that line, and then create a grout joint by, if you have a 1/4 inch grout joint, you're going to cut 1/8 of an inch either side of that cut. So that's about the only advice I can give you without seeing it. But
and Sam, I would argue too that maybe right before you launch into this endeavor, you take some time to do an image search of your tiles. So take a couple really good pictures of the texture of the tile, measure the length, and do an image search online. Because even if it's a discontinued tile, there's still a lot of secondhand places that will carry discontinued lots of tile. We had to do this with our hardwood floors, where you might have to drive a little ways, but you can still find them and pick them up in small batches if you really need to.
No, that's a great idea. Thank you.
That's a pro tip right there. I like that, Jen.
Oh, I've been there. It's
Yeah.
I know the concern. We wish you luck, Sam.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
You're listening to This Old House Radio Hour. I'm Jen Largis. Call us now at 877-864-7460. 877-864-7460. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Okay.
And who's calling?
Roseanne Minicozy,
Hi, Roseanne. Where are you calling from?
Philadelphia, PA.
Wonderful. What's your question today?
I have an old tub, cast iron, and I had it refinished about 10 years ago, and it started peeling about 2 years ago. Yeah. So I really didn't have the money to get it done again because it's pretty expensive. So I'm going to try to do it myself, but my daughter's like, Mom, I don't know if you and I are going to be able to do it, because she goes, I don't want to take the chance, and then it looks like crap. And I've done a lot of things in my house, so I was hoping that I could get this old house to come and do it. I do watch the show, And I know they go to people's houses and if there's issues, and I have an issue.
Oh, well, we can't head over, but we can hopefully help you out. We've got Zach Detmore, general contractor for This Old House, and Mauro Henrique, the painter for the show, both here to help. What advice can we give her on this project, guys?
Zach?
Let me think. I wish I had a beautiful answer, but I'll give you some context because I may not help you, but maybe I can help someone else who's about to reglaze their tub.
Oh God.
With the reglazing, most of these tubs they're basically porcelain enamel that is fused to cast iron, right? And the beautiful thing about porcelain is it has this wonderful surface, right? We say porcelain skin. It's perfect.
Yeah.
But imagine trying to stick something to porcelain. It's incredibly difficult. And that is why your finish is failing. It's also not just a porcelain finish that's on a wall. It's at the bottom I bet it's failing at the bottom.
I didn't do it. I had professionals do it.
The problem is it doesn't really matter who does it. Eventually it does fail because it's just asking a lot of any type of finish, even though what they use is incredibly good at sticking. And it does last a decent amount of time, but I'm assuming the failure point is happening around your drain and where your feet are. Is that true?
It's there, but it's a lot on the side. The side. So I got in there and sanded it down. And my daughter, she's done a lot of things in her own house, and she goes, Mom, I don't think it's going to look professional. And they want $650.
They want $600 to redo it again?
$650. Yeah, $650. And my daughter got in and sanded it because my son-in-law said, you can't let that paint go down the drain. It'll be like eggshells going down the drain. You've got to get that loose stuff off. And that's what we did. So that's where I'm at.
Well, I tend to be of the school of thought, either do the best thing you can or live with the compromise. So, spend as much as you can afford to solve the problem properly, or don't put any resources into something that is sort of a Band-Aid fix. And unfortunately, these are your options. You can live with it. That's free. The peeling paint shouldn't really affect your plumbing substantially in a very meaningful way. You can buy one of these DIY kits that's available at a home center. These are very toxic chemicals, and it's very labor intensive to prep it. So my guess is your time is still worth something. And it's not the difference between the cost of the material from the home center and the $650 to have a professional do it. It's somewhere in the middle. Let's say it's $300 to $400 for you to do it yourself. So my preference would be for you to not do it yourself, to just live with it looking ugly and save the money, and then decide whether it makes sense to save up for one of these companies that does like an actual liner. That's going to be more than the $650. But the nice thing about it is it will not peel in the future.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I would basically just sort of kick the can down the road until it makes sense to do that, because any coating you put on this tub will fail eventually. It may not fail immediately, but I would say you have this window of 6 months to 4 years before your coating that you put on from the home center or the coating you hire a professional to put on fails, and then you'll be in the same position you're in now where you're thinking. So if it's $600 now and it's $600 then, and then you're $1,200 into this project. So unfortunately, I don't have like a really good solution for you, except to maybe give you my professional opinion that if I was living in your house, I would just ignore it and say, That's a call I made. That's the worst part of my house, but that doesn't bother me. I have no siding on the back of my house right now, and it's been that way for a year. And I said, I'm not going to pay to repair that when I know eventually I have to re-side the whole house. Forget about that.
Hey, I saw a picture with all the siding on the driveway down on the floor, but not on the walls. Is that what you're talking about?
So I know that's not what you wanted to hear, but I think that's the options available to you.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Bye, Rose.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Coming up, host of the Slowdown, Maggie Smith, shows us her old house.
None of the doors or windows quite seem flush. Everything is a little off. We like to say, it has character.
That's next on This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. It's This Old House Radio Hour. I'm Jen Largis. Coming up, cheap old houses are back with a budget-friendly Georgia starter and an 1850s upstate New York mansion in need of a hero. But first, we go to Bexley, Ohio. Award-winning poet and host of The Slowdown, Maggie Smith, invites us into her century-old home where she believes a home should reflect the life you build inside it.
Hi, I'm Maggie Smith. I'm an author and the host of The Slowdown, and this is my old house.
I live in Bexley, Ohio. It's the first city in the U.S. to be designated an arboretum. There are so many trees. It's really what charmed me most about moving in here. My house is 100 years old this year. It was built in 1925, and I think it's an American Foursquare. That is the style that most resembles my house. It's basically 2.5 stories. There's an attic that we don't really use except for book storage. What charmed me right away about this house is the number of windows. But I think the house has something like 35 windows. And now, as a homeowner who has replaced all of those windows over the past 15 years, I feel slightly differently about the number of windows. It's a lot of glass, and I love it because I work from home and it's light and bright all day long, regardless of which room you're in. And when I go into other people's houses now, they feel dark to me. I live in basically a glass display case surrounded by trees. And so it's perfect for a poet. It's just like light and leaves. And who doesn't want that? I remember walking into this house because I had my daughter Violet, who is now about to turn 17, in the front load baby carrier. And I walked into the house and I saw all the windows, and she just started like looking up and looking around, and I could tell that it was catching her eye. The ceilings are really tall, which is sort of unexpected. And the layout in a lot of ways made no sense. It was ancient. It needed a ton of work. Almost everything was painted mauve or pink, but it just felt so light and bright. And I could see us raising a family there. And then I saw the little room at the front of the house with all the windows, and it was like the perfect playroom. It just spoke to me, and all the trees, and it had a fenced backyard. And I was like, oh, that's where the swing set will go. I just started to imagine all the different life stages we would get to have in this house. When you open the front door to my house, you are standing in the living room. So you're standing on a rug and looking at a sectional sofa that is floated in the middle of the room because there's no place else to put it. And then there's a staircase to the right that goes upstairs. And if you keep going a little bit to the left, you'll go into the kitchen, and then the dining room is right beside that. So it's on the front of the house, on the other side of the living room through French doors. Was my kids' playroom. Now it's my writing room. And then there's another set of French doors off the dining room that goes out to the back patio and the backyard. If you go upstairs, it's tiny. Everybody shares a wall with someone. Like there's no wing of the house. This house is full of quirks, but we're a quirky family. So I think we don't notice them. And I say that because I recently had a friend stay here for a few days, and she said, "How do you do it?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "The floors are the creakiest floors I've ever stepped on. Isn't it annoying to you? I don't even hear it anymore." I mean, they're the original wood floors. So apparently they could use some TLC. I mean, the house has a coal chute. I've noticed, probably because of settling, like none of the doors or windows quite seem flush. Everything is a little, my mom would use the word whopper-jawed. Wonky is maybe a more common term, but I love whopper-jawed. Everything is a little off. We like to say, oh, it has character. We moved in January of 2010. In 2018, my kid's dad moved out of our house, and we got divorced the following year. Really, the only thing that mattered to me other than the well-being of my children in my divorce was keeping this house. And now having it in my name, and the amount of peace that I have had raising my kids and continuing to raise my kids in the only house they've ever known. So now I am a single mom living in this house with 2 teenagers. The 3 of us are a family, and we would be a family anywhere. But we have made so many memories. I really cherish the continuity where, life throws you a lot of variables. And so to be able to have this place as a constant, it just calms my nervous system. And I think it does the same thing for my kids. I have debated a lot with myself over the past few years about whether I will stay in this house when my kids aren't here anymore. On one hand, it doesn't make a lot of sense because I'm a single woman and this house it's not quite the money pit, but it is a constant project. I've got maybe 5 years before I'm a complete empty nester. And I don't know if it makes sense to stay yet. I really love this house and I really love my neighbors. And so part of what I've been doing is asking my neighbors, like, are you sticking around? So much of what I love about living here is the house, but it's also the community. I think the kids are also attached to the house. Like, I can't keep this as a monument to their childhood. It needs to be useful to me and a place to live. But I also don't want to just be flippant about selling it and getting a condo when my son goes to college. So it's a kind of a wait and see thing right now.
That was poet Maggie Smith. Listen to The Slowdown wherever you get your podcasts. It's This Old House Radio Hour. I'm Jen Largess. Do you ever see an old house online and think, maybe that could be my life? A place with history, maybe a porch swing, and stories in the walls. You start to picture yourself there, and it feels so real. That's the magic of Cheap Old Houses, an Instagram page created by Ethan and Elizabeth Finkelstein that uncovers old farmhouses and historic homes on the market for next to nothing. Some are listed for as little as $10. But the cheapest homes can be the most expensive to fix. So we asked them what it really takes to bring these old places back. Hi, Ethan and Elizabeth.
Hey, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
And This Old House contractor, Zach Detmore, is here to tell us where the charm ends and the work begins. Hi, Zach.
Hi, Jen.
Our first listing today is a 4-bedroom and 2.5-bathroom single-family home with nearly 2,000 square feet and a wood exterior. The listing says it's the perfect project for someone with a vision to bring it back to its classic Southern charm. This single-family 4-bedroom home is located at 711 Applewood Street in Macon, Georgia, with an asking price of $55,000. Ethan and Elizabeth, I think this is the first time we've come across a listing that uses AI to show buyers the potential of a listing.
This is definitely a new thing we've noticed a bit more using sort of AI reimagined images. What I like about the images that they've done here is they haven't fluffed them up too much. It's actually hard to tell in some of them if there's been AI, but you can see that it's been fixed up just enough to make it feel like it's still livable, but you wouldn't have to do a ton of work on this one, maybe necessarily.
So many of the cheap old houses that we find really are in bad shape, and there's maybe 2 or 3 photos. So it's nice to actually see a little bit of AI kind of reimagining what this property could be. And it's clearly stated, so at least you know what is what. Right. And it's like, okay, this is the actual status of the property versus what it could be.
Hopefully not misleading in that way. From the outside, the home, I mean, it looks weathered, but it's in pretty good shape.
Yeah, it is in really nice shape. It has that classic, symmetry, southern front porch.
So tell us about the inside and some of the details of this home that are still there.
I love this one. It has that classic southern center hall with high ceilings. And you have the operable transom windows, which I love. One of those features in old houses that never should have gone away. You can open them up. They allow for extra light in the rooms and also just airflow moving through the house, which makes so much practical sense.
There's wainscoting in here and chair rail and plaster work and tin ceilings. This house is full of so many really amazing features, and it looks like it did 100 years ago.
The other thing I noticed missing here is there are no pictures of the bathroom, not even in the AI reimagined version. So what do we make of that?
It seems like there are only maybe 4 or 5 images of this house altogether. It would be glaring if there was a photo of every room and not the bathroom, but that's a tough thing to tell here.
The kitchen, though, does scare me a little bit. So I don't know. I hope the bathroom doesn't look like the kitchen does.
I'm going to say, based on the quote-unquote updates made throughout the rest of the house, that any bathroom in this house would not have been updated post-1975, if I were to guess.
Zach, what are you seeing in this listing?
I actually really like this house. The first thing that stands out to me when you look from the outside is, relatively straight roof lines. Doesn't look like there's a ton of water damage. There's obviously some with what appears to be sort of an integrated gutter. So these in general have had a bit of rotting. And you could tell there's some waviness, but it looks like it's repairable for a reasonable price point. And then we jump inside and I look at the ceilings. They all seem relatively intact and dry, at least the ones that are photographed. So that's a good sign from a water standpoint. The house, if you're in the foyer, looks highly decorated, like very architecturally significant. And then you go into the kitchen and it's just a total mess, which I sort of like, because if it was a cute original kitchen, I would feel obliged to preserve it. But because this kitchen is sort of thread worn and not of the correct era, you can guilt-free gut it and make it a more modernized functional kitchen. It's certainly dirty and repulsive, but I think that's why the price is so low. But this seems like a very salvageable home.
I mean, repulsive is a pretty strong word.
I feel bad, but I got to agree on this one. This is not a great kitchen, and Zach is right. There's nothing appropriate about it for the house, so you would have no problem gutting it.
Guilt-free.
Guilt-free, yeah.
Moving on to our second listing today. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, single-family home that was built in the 1850s. This home still has its original charm and is set on a 3,300 square foot lot. Along with the bedrooms, the listing advertises this home has a living room, dining room, a great room, a study, and a walk-in closet, even though the upstairs only fits 2 bedrooms. The listing also states that the current owner started the rehab, but with too many projects and too much distance, it's time to pass the torch. This 3-bedroom single-family home is located at 41 North Main Street in New Berlin, New York, with an asking price of $69,900. Can you describe the outside of this house for people who can't see it here like us?
It's one of those houses that's really hard not to love. It's just completely adorable. It looks like what you think of when you think of a gingerbread house, with sort of decorative, lacy trim all around. And it's just so whimsical. It's like living in a little fairy tale, this house.
And on the inside, it looks like there are a lot of rooms that have been rehabbed in different eras.
Yeah, it's almost like this house has been lived in every 10 years since it was built in 1850 and has been changed every 10 years. You've got, the outside has various phases throughout the late 19th century. And then you go inside and I'm seeing, 1940s, 1950s. I see doors dating from the original Greek Revival period. I see beautiful windows that I think open up to the porch that go all the way to the floor, which I love. And then I see fireplaces that look like they're dating maybe to the 1870s. So there's so much going on here. And again, it's really fun with a house like this because there's so much historical significance from so many eras, and you can kind of pick and choose what you want to keep and what's the period of significance you most connect with.
Yeah. The turquoise countertops would be my pick.
Yeah, they never would have had turquoise countertops, but they're so fun. And that kitchen is actually pretty intact, sort of within itself, maybe not within the context of the rest of the house, but if you love it, it would be worth preserving.
And the kitchen goes a long way for getting a loan for the property if you needed it for maybe a restoration or construction loan.
So why does having a kitchen intact help with getting a construction loan?
Well, so a construction loan is going to really ask and make sure that the house gets inspected, and then you need to make sure that you have a heating unit and a kitchen and plumbing. So if you have those things, even if they're leaky or problematic or basic or needing of updating, a mortgage company will give you a loan much easier for a property that has all working systems, even if they are in need of updating. So this price point is great to kind of get into this house for $69,000 and update things as you go over the years.
Zach, what do you think of this one?
So anytime I see a house that's highly decorated like this, I get scared for the homeowner because if they want to preserve it in the way it was originally designed, it's going to be expensive. So when I look at this house from the outside, the first thing I'm looking for is the lines on the front porch. So that's the roof line and the porch floor line. The porch floor line looks like a smiley face. It's not straight and it's bowed down towards the middle. What that tells me is that floor is pretty much compromised. And of course, that floor is supporting the roof. So the roof is also bowing and it's rotten on one side. If this front porch is going to be rebuilt exactly as it is, it's going to be expensive. Then we jump inside and nothing looks like it was done extremely well. That kind of scares me because if the house shows signs of neglect, then usually there's scope creep lurking in every corner. Because the outside of this house architecturally doesn't match the inside of the house, I see this as a large project to make this a cohesive, old, saved house.
We're going to stop inviting him.
It's funny, that was the first era in which suddenly things were machine made and you could just have all of this fluff and gingerbread and fun things on your house. But I don't think there was ever the thought, well, what's it going to look like in 120 years when all of this has to be kept up? And I think we deal with that a lot in some of these homes, which really are some of our favorite homes, or these really happy little fairy tale houses like this one. So I really do hope somebody could preserve that porch, but it would be a bit of a challenge.
But this is definitely a good save this old house contender at $69,900.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Zach.
Yeah, great to hang out with you guys.
Thank you so much for having me, Jen.
If you want to see some of these old houses, follow at Cheap Old Houses on Instagram. Or you can check out their newsletter at cheapoldhouses.com. Who knows? You might just find your next home. And now it's time for one last thing, my favorite tool.
Hey, Jen, it's Zach Detmore, general contractor for the show, and my favorite tool is a cordless miter saw. Now, we're production carpenters, so the idea of using a battery on a miter saw rubbed me the wrong way for years, and it wasn't until someone actually gave me one of these saws that I gave it a try, and I'll tell you what is good about it that you wouldn't expect. A lot of times, we're at a homeowner's house and we're trying to manage dust, and homeowners don't have a lot of power. So we plug in a vacuum, we plug in a miter saw, and then as soon as you turn the miter saw on and it turns on the vacuum, you flip the breaker, and they don't have enough power to power both of them at once. With a cordless miter saw, you're able to run the vacuum off the receptacle and have the miter saw be powered by the battery, and you're good to go. This year, there's been some new offerings to the market that have really convinced us that it's time for us to switch to full cordless. They're really impressive.
We'll see you next week on This Old House Radio Hour. Our show is distributed by and co-produced by LAist Studios and APM, American Public Media. This Old House Radio Hour was created and produced by Ember 20. Listen to new episodes of the podcast every Tuesday on your app of choice. You can follow This Old House on all the socials at This Old House, all one word. We'll see you next week.